When it comes to Juventus, I feel like it's the same problem every single week. Let me break it down. Look at this. 37% of the game was played in Benfica's own box. Juventus had 67% of the ball. These are good numbers. To have 67% of the ball, to play 37% of your game in the opposition half, it means you're good at sustaining pressure. It means you're good at holding onto the ball. But I've said this so many times before. Possession without a purpose is useless. It will forever be useless in 2025, in 2035, in 2045. Possession without purpose, possession without tempo, possession without intent is useless. And this is the perfect example. 67% possession. Juventus made more than double Benfica's passes. I believe Juventus made 621 passes. Benfica made like 300. Juventus topped every metric besides the most important metric of football, which is goals. You could top every metric. You can have more shots. You can have more possession. You can have more passes. You can have more blocks. You can have more duels won. You can have everything. The most important thing in football is who scores more goals. Juventus 0, Benfica 2. And that's just the story of Juventus this season. That, I don't even know what it was. Like in the first half, I felt like Juventus physically just got bullied. They lost every duel. Kenan, one of my favourite players, that Florentino Luis player, wow, what a performance. He was everywhere. Kenan couldn't beat him once. I feel like in the first half, they got physically bullied. The opposition were more tenacious, they were more aggressive, they looked more fitter. But then in the second half, I feel like Benfica just sat back. And they were like, try and break us down. And do you know how embarrassing it is? The fact that the whole second half was practically Juve. There was a period in that game where Juventus, for a 15-minute span, had 85% of the ball. So for 15 minutes straight, they had 85% of the ball. And they couldn't create a goal-scoring opportunity. They couldn't get the ball into dangerous areas and turn it into something. And I'll be honest with you guys, people might look at the recruitment and say, for example, Coop Miners was signed to be a game changer. Didn't start, came on, didn't do anything. Douglas Luiz getting a start. I don't get it with Douglas Luiz. I feel like he plays the game 50 levels slower than everybody else. There's no intensity to his game. Like, he takes 4 or 5 extra touches. He plays the game in slow motion. And that's one thing you can't have in a possession-orientated team. You can't have players that take 4 or 5 extra touches. You have to keep the ball moving. Left, right, forwards, backwards. Give and go. Give and go. With Juventus, it's just give. There's no goal. There's no goal whatsoever. Coop Miners came on, done poor. Douglas Luiz came on, done poor. Nico Gonzalez, he came on, he done well. There was a period where he picked up the ball and he carried it. But even then, you look at his contributions throughout the season, very, very, very minimal. Conceição, I'll be honest with you guys, it might be a hot take. I don't know if he's like a fan favourite. But for me, he ain't it. I'll be honest. Like, I watched him for a whole 90 minutes today. And I've watched him throughout the entire season. And I've always told myself, he's a good prospect. Like, he's young. You can develop him. You can nurture him. You can mold him into the player that you need. But I couldn't believe what I was seeing today. The one thing I will give Conceição is he's very good at beating the fullback. He's very, 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 very good. He's very direct. He's very dynamic. He's very good at beating the fullback. So taking him on and beating him. But that's not good enough. That's just 50% of the job. 50% is beating the fullback, getting yourself into a dangerous area. The other 50% is making the right decision. Making the right decision. If it's a cutback, getting the right weight on that cutback. Finding your teammate. If it's a cross into the box, finding your teammates in the box. Like Conceição today, I think it was what? Only 2 out of 12 of his crosses found a teammate. 2 out of 12. And I was just sat watching it. Like, especially in the dying minutes. There was even like a period. He has the ball down the right. There's 7 Juve players in the box. and he couldn't beat the first man. 7 Juve players in the box and he couldn't beat the first man. I stand by it. He's a good prospect signing, but he's not good enough to be starting for Juventus. He really, really, really isn't. He is the type of player that I would keep off the bench. I would bring him on with 10, 15, 20 minutes to go. He's got that pace. He's got that energy. He can change a game. But to be starting from the first minute, he doesn't have it. He really, really, really doesn't have it. He doesn't have that decision making. He doesn't have that killer pass in the final third. At times today, he would pick up the ball, cut in and shoot, but there's 5 teammates in the box. Put the cross in. But even then, from watching the game, this is where I look at Motta. And I'll be honest, I'm a massive fan of Thiago Motta. And whenever he's gotten it right this season, I've been the first to come out and make a video and say, wow, what a performance. What a tactical masterclass. The man-to-man pressing, the shape, everything. I look at Motta and I have this one question. How can your team have 67% of the ball and struggle to break down a team that sits back? How? At the end of the day, your job as a coach is to teach these players how to play in possession, but on top of everything, how to play in possession, but how to position themselves. I'm looking at Juve today. Like Douglas Luiz would be on the ball. The closest Juve player to him is 10, 15 yards away. That's not possession football. Possession football is whenever one of your teammates has the ball, he's got minimum 2-3 passing options. Left, right, forwards. Then you might have the diagonal pass. The reason why there's no tempo in this team is because every single time a player gets onto the ball, nobody is in close proximity to them. So it means you have to take 4, 5, 6 touches just to find the teammate. Just to wait for them to drop deeper. That is all positioning. That's got nothing to do with signings. That is all positioning, which is coaching. And this is the first time when I'm looking at Motta and I'm telling myself, I've seen this story many times this season, where Juventus end the game on 60% possession, 70% possession, but they don't score. Why? There's too many gaps in the team. Too many gaps. Players are not comfortable in possession. And when they're not comfortable in possession, they panic. And guess what happens when you panic and you have possession? You make the wrong pass. You end up making the wrong weight of the pass. Thuram giving the ball away. Gatti giving the ball away. Locatelli just giving the ball away. Mbangula in the final third trying to lay off. I think it was Kenan. Underhit it. Players are not in close proximity. This is coaching. This is where I look at Motta. And I don't know if it's a matter of he just can't get the message across to these players. That's what I think it is. Maybe he just can't get the message across to them. Maybe they don't understand what's required of them. But at the moment, I'll be honest with you guys, like the criticism is warranted, because how can a Benfica team come to Turin, come to Italy, and have less than 35% of the ball, yet every time they were in possession, they looked more threatening. They opened Juve. How? How? If you're a team that has just under 70% of the ball, you should go out and score goals. You should go out and impose yourself. I don't know. And the last thing I want to mention is there was a period this season where it was a game against Lazio. And I told myself, how did Juve win against Lazio? They won 1-0. How did they win? They brought on Fagioli. Now, I don't know what the internal issues are that's going on between him, the board. I don't know what's going on. But the one thing I will give Fagioli is when he comes onto the pitch, he is the one player that adds a bit of tempo. Why? Because he loves to do the give and go. Yeah, the 1-2s, passing the ball forwards. He doesn't take 5, 6 touches on the ball. No, he plays with intensity. Now, I'm not saying Fagioli is the best player ever, but I'm saying when you've got one player of intensity, it helps. And I was watching the game today and I was like, bring him on. Roll the dice. But he's a player that I can't remember the last time I saw Fagioli in a Juve shirt. I really can't remember. I don't understand why he's not coming on, because he still can bring something to this team. But the alarm bells were there. Possession without purpose is useless. And Juventus will probably go on for the remainder of the season having possession. But as long as they don't have players that can make the right decision in possession, as long as they don't have players that position themselves correctly in possession, they will continue to score 0 goals. And how many times have Juventus this season scored 0 goals but I had over 50% of the ball. Plenty of times. If you're new, make sure to subscribe, make sure to hit the like button, make sure to let me know if you can comment. I'll catch you guys on another one.